Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for joining the College Nine and John R. Lewis breakout room. These are our breakout room expectations. And first, I want to go ahead and share that my name is Siobhan. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director for College Nine and John R. Lewis. Typically, this session is hosted by our housing coordinator, who is on a wonderful and well-deserved vacation right now. So I will be in their stead, helping you along through this information. All right. So again, for expectations, we expect for folks to be respectful to all, follow facilitator instructions to help the meeting run smoothly. And thank you all so much for letting me know that the screen has been shared. So already check, check. Please, at this time, I'll be going through a lot of information. And for us to be able to get through that information in a timely manner, I'll ask that everyone keep their microphone muted. And as I'm saying that, I'll also point out to the QR code once again with the bit.ly for the frequently asked questions. You are welcome to, throughout this entire part of the presentation, submit your questions that way, and we will begin actively answering those questions, getting those emails out to folks throughout the next few business days. Use the chat feature for relevant comments and questions only. I'm going to make sure that our chat is active. Let me see. It should allow you, are folks seeing that? I know I just said keeping microphone on mute, but are folks able to see the chat and post into the chat?
No.
No. Okay. All right, then we're just going to go ahead and move forward. This happened to me on Wednesday. This is totally fine. So again, go ahead and use that QR code for right now. We will have time at the end for you to ask questions live. So then I'll go ahead and get through this as quickly as possible so that we do have significant time at the end for folks to add questions. Not to worry if you have a piece of paper and pencil, or if you have a phone with you and you want to just write down, oh, this question popped into my head, go ahead and do that. And then at the end, we will go ahead and get to your questions. We will have enough time for that. So that's fine. Again, in the meantime, you can use that bit.ly and that will work just as well. Okay, perfect. So Sarah Harker is our housing coordinator. As I said, she is on vacation today and is part of, she is a steward for the Teamsters Local 2010. Um, Okay, so this is the big overview process. We kind of already talked about the application term, right? That long timeline that this, even though it starts now, it actually goes all the way through into fall. So it's a really long timeline for us. And we'll talk about, obviously, we talked about picking residential communities, talking about ranked preferred room types, obviously the theme communities, et cetera, et cetera. We will also be sharing the communities as far as we have the 10 colleges and what's called our affiliated residential communities, which is a village, University Town Center, Camper Park is old. We should have edited that. My apologies. And then our campus-wide options, as we're already shared, our ABC communities, Trans-Inclusive Housing, International Living Center. The application term, again, this QR code you're going to see pop throughout much of this presentation. So never fear if you haven't already scanned it or weren't able to already take that bit.ly, you will have that throughout the rest of this presentation. Alrighty, so here's the timeline once again. For folks who haven't, this is probably a really good thing. I know that I really use my Google Calendar to keep me on time with long-term reminders and things like that. If you want to take a screenshot of that and possibly even put it into your Google Calendar so you just know what's going on in February, March, etc. We will go ahead and talk about this housing application period right now. Obviously, this is the most important time right now to get and submit your housing application. And this whole part of the presentation will help you make sure that you do that as best as possible. February 19th through 26th. It is due on the 26th. If you turn it in on the 27th, it will not be valid. It will not be accepted. So it really is important for folks to get your application in and early, definitely on time. And we'll talk a little bit, as you can see down at the bottom, the pre-assignment piece as well. Um,
I'm so
oh,
sorry to interrupt, but I don't think your slides are advancing.
oh no,
Sorry.
that is good. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Oh, I see, I see. Well, that is just odd, isn't it? Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, I wonder why it is not. We're just gonna do this the old-fashioned way, y'all. This is gonna be back in the olden times right now. Okay, let me go ahead and click through here. Okay, there we go. We're just gonna do that. We're gonna be simple and we're just gonna go with the chaos. Okay. Is everyone able to now just see where it says fall 2026 continuing student housing timeline? Is that now helpful for folks? My apologies and my
Yes,
errors.
yes.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you all so much for your patience. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, that housing application period, February 19th through 26th. Also, again, if you want to take a screenshot here so you have this readily available for yourself to reference, it's also on our website, and you can reference it there as well. And I'm just also reminded that I have not introduced my wonderful colleague Gabby, who will be helping us post some of the links to the chat. And so, as we go through, kind of as some of you may have seen in the first part of the session, where Kevin Tresham, our director for our housing team, was putting information about that bit.ly, Gabby will be able to go ahead and put some of that into the chat. So, if you have any need for any links, those will be in the chat as well. Okay. All right. So picking one residential community, this is paramount. So when you submit your application, you can only submit your application for one community, right? But the preferences of what type of bed space you want to live, those are infinite. It's the location you can only select to live at one residential community at a time per application. So let's go ahead and talk about those housing options. Obviously, we're at College 9, John R. Lewis. So College 9's theme recognizes the importance of cultural competency and focuses on issues such as economic globalization, environmental degradation, human rights, and international and ethnic conflicts. So as we talk about the themes of the colleges, obviously folks are looking at like what building they want to live in and what the features of the community are, but also one of the pieces is how you choose or where you choose to live on campus based on our college model. You're also choosing to live in a community that upholds these themes. And then for John R. Lewis College, our theme focuses on the inequalities that exist in society, such as discrimination and poverty, and the role of community involvement in addressing social injustices. So that also gears, like I said, even for College 9, the programs that are offered, the resources that are offered, and then the way that we go about working and providing customer service to you in those spaces. All right. So one of the big things that's going to be throughout this entire breakout room section, we are a little bit unique in one aspect when it comes to our apartment living spaces. So are College 9 and John R. Lewis College the same community? No. While the apartments share the same location under College 9, College 9 and John R. Lewis College residential communities are in fact different. If you apply to College 9, and your friend applies to John R. Lewis College, you will not be able to form a roommate group in our residential spaces. And the way that this kind of example is shared is that if you're going to a concert and you're picking tickets, if one of you picks a ticket for Beyonce and then the other one picks a ticket for Bad Bunny, you're going to different concerts. So you all need to pick the same concert to go to in order to live in the same place. So being able to have a friend or a roommate group that you want to live with you, you all need to choose College 9, or you all need to choose John R. Lewis College. And you'll be able to see that here. Here's the screenshot that Sarah provided us. If this preference section right here isn't the same amongst everyone in your preferred roommate group, again, you won't be able to see each other once it comes into our room selection portion to be able to pull each other in. So you need to make sure that the college that you put in your housing application is in fact the same. Okay. Again, QR code for questions. What should I do if I applied to the wrong community? So let's say one friend applied to College 9 and one friend applied to John R. Lewis College. If you catch this before February 26th at 11:59 p.m., I would suggest catching it even before the 25th. You can cancel your application and reapply. No fees, no issues. You're before that deadline of February 26th, 11:59 p.m. You have to make sure, though, that you have clicked all the way through and officially submitted your application before that 11:59 deadline on February 26th. There have been times where folks have waited until after that deadline and decided, oh no, that's not the community. They then canceled their application and now they're out of that eligibility for the first choice selection. Same thing, folks have canceled with the intention of meeting that deadline to make sure that they're in the same residential community as their friend, but they don't click all the way through and they don't have their application finalized, submitted by that deadline. So this is very, very important. Sarah has shared with folks, you have Tuesday on as the day that you get your application completed. Use a random day. Do not wait until the 26th at 11:58 p.m. because that's going to be the time that the server breaks. That's going to be the time of a power outage. All of those kinds of things. So really plan on it. We do have a 3-day weekend coming up. Maybe this can be a good time for you and some friends to get together. Choose some spaces also starting on the 11th through I believe the 17th, if I remember correctly, is our roommate meeting events throughout all of the residential communities. And so you can go to those events, get to better understand your roommate group and what that is going to look like for y'all. And then submit your applications together too. So just make sure, this is very important. If you don't take anything away from today, just remember the deadline of February 26th, 11:59 p.m. and the fact that College 9 and John R. Lewis are separate communities. Okay. All right. Room type. So we'll go into this next section here. All right. So for College 9 and John R. Lewis, we have under about 1,600 total bed spaces. Around 70% of our total 525 continuing spaces are in our apartments. So what that means is just that the likelihood of a continuing student living at John R. Lewis and College 9 is going to be in the apartments because that's just the most continuing spaces we have allotted. About under 300 of those beds are going to be available during room selection. One of the things on our little map telling us which sections we're going into, and then also the long-term timeline is that there's pre-selection. And where that goes, and I'll just, for folks who are my visual learners like myself, I'm just going to go back here really quickly. This pre-assignment is going to be when we put folks into campus-wide themes. I had mentioned our ABC community. I mentioned our ILC community. Folks will get placed in there. Our RAs and NAs will get placed, and anyone with DRC accommodations for a specific type of housing. That does not include if you have an ESA. It would be a specific type of housing that maybe wheelchair accessible, someone who maybe doesn't need any carpet, something of that nature, that there's a specific room that must be available to meet the accommodation need that's been approved by the DRC. And so that's why there are 300 beds available during that time. And just over 225 spaces are themed community. So we have a huge amount of spaces in our ILC apartments. That is in apartment buildings 4 and 5, International Living Center. And why that's important is because you do have to submit a supplemental application to say that you strongly prefer that space in order to get that application, supplemental application for to live in those spaces. We also, like I said, our ABC community is in building 2, apartment building 2, above the first floor. We have left the first floor for additional needs, student housing needs. So if you want a non-themed space in the apartments, that's going to be apartment building 1 and apartment building 3. But we do welcome folks to submit the supplemental applications with the theme spaces. That means you're going to have theme programs to attend, as well as theme resources, connections. The great thing I'll just say really quickly about ILC, and I know it was mentioned at the beginning section of our session, is that we try to have international and domestic students living together. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're affiliated with College 9, maybe you've lived on the I floor before and you want to continue those types of relationships, that would be a really great opportunity as well. We also work hand in hand with our global engagement, campus global engagement team to provide programs, et cetera. I also mentioned ABC housing in building 2. We also have our LGBTQ plus floors. And then Room East Field, that is our nonviolent communication floor. What is required of that floor, again, the supplemental application, but in the fall quarter, folks will take a nonviolent communication course, and that is required for the course. That is in for living on the residential floor. It's in the residential halls in John R. Lewis. It is a mixed floor of continuing and first year students, and it's been pretty phenomenal for folks. We have folks who have taken that course and gone on into leadership positions on campus. We have folks who have continued to take that course over 3 to 4 years while they're living here. It's just a really great life skill to have and build nonviolent communication, as well as the engagement that you have. It's a very concentrated type of engagement that you're going to have with folks on that floor, and being able to work with the resident assistants and peer facilitator. And then also the spaces that are not included is going to be the RA spaces. And like I said, those are in pre-assignment. Okay, residence hall options. Okay, so continuing student buildings at College 9 is going to be Gandhi House. That's our R2 building. If folks are familiar with College 9, if you've been to Namaste, or even just the dining hall, that is going to be on the easternmost side of the College 9 John R. Lewis sister pair. If you're at the bus stop looking up towards College 9 John R. Lewis, that's going to be on your right-hand side. And then for John R. Lewis College, that's going to be Amnesty House, building 5. And that is going to be on your left-hand side of the dining hall if you're looking up from the bus stop. These buildings, the spaces in these buildings that are allotted to our continuing students will be open, will be available. And so if you are looking for, I just want a triple room, I just want to live with my 2 other roommates, I love a meal plan because I hate to cook, this is the space for you. So that is going to be really great. The other great thing too about these spaces is that this is also where our kitchen co-op is located. And so for folks, we do have limited room though, because it is a small shared co-op space. But for folks who are interested in still cooking, they just maybe want that meal plan as well. I know that sometimes I just don't want to cook, and so that's why I'm focusing on the meal plan, that you can go ahead and utilize these spaces. And then if you want to opt in for the kitchen co-op, that becomes available to you as well. All right, room types. This is what you're most interested in. What is available at 9 and Lewis? We have some single rooms, we have some double rooms. I mentioned triples, and then obviously large triples. Across campus, across all of campus, regular triples are the most common. And so if you just are like, I just want housing, I do not care what it looks like, most likely the easiest, fastest, quickest way for you to get into housing is to select your interest for a triple. You can obviously select anything. If you want a single, that's great. But know that the most common, the most abundant options are going to be the triples. That means that everything else, singles, they're few and far between. We don't have a lot of those across campus. Same thing with doubles. So that does start limiting your options and your preference settings for what you would accept for housing spaces. Okay, here we go. Apartment options. So at 9 and Lewis, you'll see what types of configurations we have and then the students per apartment. As you can see, just really quickly, the most typical type of apartment we have is for 6 folks. And so when it comes to your roommate group, you're going to want to make sure that you and 5 other folks are, again, selecting either College 9 altogether or John R. Lewis College altogether. And then you want to make sure that you've talked with each other about who's going to live together in that apartment. So, first example, 2 triples, you got 3 and 3, who's going to live together there. 1 triple, 1 large triple, 2 large triples, 2 small doubles, and 2 singles, and then 3 singles and 1 small double. And so, those are the types, most likely types of apartment spaces that we do have. Now, there's a couple nuances there. We have a few. You'll see we have about 1 apartment that has 1 triple room and 1 double room. That means you have 5 folks. So you and 4 other folks can make an apartment group. Now, again, going to those roommate meet and greets is a really great time to talk about all these different types of configurations. And what if this 1 triple, 1 double apartment isn't available? What are we going to go ahead and do next? And so that's what you're going to be able to look at through going to those events and seeing, here's what my preference is, here's my roommate group, oh my goodness, roommate group interest is, and how do we go from there to make sure that we are, in fact, planning it out when it comes to this selection day, who's going to live with who and where are we going to live. We have 13 available, 3 singles, 1 small double. We have 3, 1 triple, and 1 small double. And then we have one large triple, 1 small double. And we only have one of our most unique spaces is 1 quad and 1 large triple. So if you and 6 other friends want to live together, that is a very unique space to be able to go. But again, here, Sarah put this for us, bright yellow, have a backup plan. Have a plan, your preference, what you want to live with your folks, and have a backup plan to that, and have a backup plan to that, and have a backup plan to that. Because what you want to do. Oh,
can you
yes?
clarify? I'm so sorry. Can you clarify if this configurations are for JRL or C9?
Both. Yes. Thank you for that question. So for College 9, thank you for that question. College 9 and John R. Lewis Apartments, they are together. They're one and the same. The way that they're going to be listed is actually going to be listed under College 9 Apartments. So you can be applying, like I mentioned earlier, me and my roommate group, we're applying to College 9. You will be able to see all of the College 9 and John R. Lewis Apartments. Or me and my roommate group, we are going to be applying to John R. Lewis College. You will also be able to see all of the College 9 and John R. Lewis Apartments because they are together. Where the difference is the residential housing community College 9 res halls are separate from John R. Lewis res halls. So the apartments are all together. And so you'll see again, this 1, 13, 3 options. Those apartments are all available to anyone who applies to College 9. You'll be able to see all those, or John R. Lewis. The separation comes into the apartments. Separation comes into the res halls. And so let me go back here really quickly. The same thing for these typical configurations as well. Those are going to be seen in the apartments all together at College 9 and John R. Lewis. This can be seen as different in Crown and Merrill. Those apartments are seen if you're a Crown College affiliate, interested in living in Crown, you're only going to see Crown apartments. Same thing with Merrill. If you're a Merrill affiliate, going to live in Merrill, you're only going to see Merrill. We are different that you can see all of our apartments. The one little asterisk I will give folks here is that we do have 3 apartments connected to our res halls in College 9 and 3 apartments connected to our res halls in John R. Lewis. If me and my roommates, selected roommates, plan to go into College 9, we will be able to see those 3 apartments connected to the res halls at College 9. we will not be able to see the three apartments connected to the res halls and John R. Lewis. So that's the only nuance. But again, those are only a total of 3 apartments in the res halls at 9 and 3 apartments in the res halls at John R. Lewis. All the other apartments, everyone will be able to see who selects College 9 or John R. Lewis. Okay, little frequently asked question, which we kind of brought up here. Can I apply to John R. Lewis College and be eligible to select the College 9 apartments? As I just said, yes. They are the one and the same when it comes to apartments. The difference is the res halls. I see some folks have raised their hands. Again, if you can either one, let me go ahead and go back to our QR code. If you can put your question in there, that'd be great. I want to make sure that I get through this next bit so that we can open it up to everyone for questions. But please, please, please write down and remember your question. That would be very good. I want to get to your questions. Perfect. Okay. This question is also going to come up a lot. Are College 9 and John R. Lewis College the same residential community? No. While the apartments share the same location, the res halls at College 9 and John R. Lewis are different. If you apply to College 9 and your friend applies to John R. Lewis, you will not be able to form a roommate group in the residential halls, okay? Definitely making sure that your applications are the same as well. Otherwise, you won't be able to pull folks in for the apartments either, okay? The application gets you into the concert. You need to all go to the same concert in order to get seats together, okay? You can't apply to different concerts and then expect to hear the same music and sit next to each other. Unless you're like on different dimensions and you can do that, that's a great superpower. I don't have that superpower. Okay. Why are the College 9 apartments not called the College 9 and John R. Lewis apartments if they're available for everyone who applies to those spaces? It is based on our system. It's called College 9 because our system cannot take College 9 and John R. Lewis College apartments. So College 9 is much shorter. It's also the first of the sister parish, College 9, and at the time, College 10. And so that's why they're called the College 9 apartments. It's just based on the database, the system. And on here, for folks who are currently living at 9 and Lewis, we do call it Nigel sometimes. And that's just a little friendly fact. Okay. Okay, how does room selection work for students who apply to John R. Lewis College when it comes to the Nigel apartment? That works exactly the same way for students who apply to College 9. And there's a couple slides that we'll be able to get to in a bit. So to use a metaphor, a lot of grocery stores have multiple or 2 entrances. So if you think of Safeway down on Mission, if you go in on the side that's closest to Mission, that's going to be the side where you have like the hot food, right? And like the bread. But if you go closer to like the parking lot and like a little bit more inner, you're going to see where like the produce and stuff is. There's 2 different entrances, but you'll still be able to go on the other side of the store. You could start with the produce side, but you can still get over to the bread side. So what that just means is I'm going in through the John R. Lewis entrance, but I can still get through all of the apartments. Or I'm going through the College 9 entrance, I can still get to all of the apartments. Okay? And one of our last FAQs before we get into some more images and all that good stuff. Is there any exception to the equal access? And this is what I mentioned earlier. Yes, the apartments attached to the residence halls are only available to students who apply for that residence halls area, that college. So like I said, College 9 has 3 apartments attached to the residence halls, and John R. Lewis has 3 apartments attached to the residence hall. So those ones, because they're attached to the residence hall, you can only see them if you are applying to that college. But again, apartments closest to upper campus, closest to the trails, those ones you can see all together. So here is the visual example. College 9 has 3 apartments attached to the res halls, and you can only see those. But you can see all of the apartments that are at College 9 and John R. Lewis. And then same thing, John R. Lewis has 3 apartments attached to the res halls. They can only see those, but they can see all of the apartments. If this is helpful for you, I'm going to pause for 3 seconds if you want to take this picture. If you're the one person of your group who's come to this and other folks have come to other groups, take a picture of this to show folks this is where the difference is when it comes to apartments and the res hall, apartments attached to the res halls. I'll give you a few more seconds if you want to take a screenshot. And then we're going to go ahead and slide on down here. All right, one more time again, folks have questions, please go ahead, scan the QR code. We're going to go into applying to theme communities. And
Wait, sorry, could you go back for 1 second to the
yes.
diagram? Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay. Cool. I want to take about the next, hopefully we can do the next 15 minutes, but I can give you all a good chunk of time for questions. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, good. All right. So I mentioned Rumie's Field really briefly. This is one of our, like I said, our theme communities at John R. Lewis. So again, if you apply for the community, John R. Lewis community, you will be able to see this as one of your options. You're going to go ahead and fill out a supplemental form. And from there, we go ahead and choose folks to live in the space. It is named after a renowned peace-seeking Sufi poet. Rumie's Field is our nonviolent communication. It is a mixed community, like I said, of first years and continuing students. And it does have a required 1 credit course in the fall. And that is usually a very interactive course. We've had, like I said, we've had so much feedback over the years, and that's why it's one of our longest standing only active LLCs with a course attached, because it's been so well received and year after year. So the great thing about this too is because it is a living space in the residential halls, you are able to select, if you select strongly prefer, that now becomes another option for you to live. If you're like, I only want apartments, I don't care about anything else, while that's great, you then start to limit your available housing options. If you have a wider breadth of like what you would like to live, where you would like to live and what type of spaces you would like to live, this could be one of those spaces. And so then that opens up more options for you to be able to live on campus. Single gender, non-binary. So for that is that John R. Lewis theme. It is I believe it's the floor below or above our LGBTQIA plus floor. You must identify as non-binary. If you have not changed your gender marker to N, please reach out to your housing coordinator, which would be Sarah Harker, or if you're in another community, your housing coordinator directly. If you identify as non-binary, but you have been unable to change your gender marker. We have one of those floors, and so far it's been really successful for folks. I know everyone has differing gender identities and process therein, and so this has been one of the great spaces for folks to build community, and we're looking to have it again at John R. Lewis. Other theme floors at both of our College 9, John R. Lewis College, is going to be our single gender floors, 1 female, 1 male. You must identify as either female or male in your profile. So like we just said, the last one, identifying as N, as non-binary. This one you'd have to identify as F or N in order to be in those floors. And this is the marker for that system, that database. Because it uses these markers, it needs that data, it needs that information. And this is how you identify. This is not anything that I identify you as or whatever. It's the data that you provide to the system and how you identify. This is going to be 1 floor in the first year freshman building and 1 floor in the continuing student building per college. And then, yes, if there's enough demand, then an non-binary floor will be made available at C9. But right now, the availability is at John R. Lewis because that's where the demand was. We also have a quiet hours floor, 24-hour quiet hours. The focus for that is going to be our folks who study best, live best, work best in what is called our 24-hour quiet hour courtesy quiet hours. Your community and maybe yourself aren't folks that listen to music just super loud dance parties all the time. Actually, you could have silent disco, so you could do that. Folks who maybe Don't scurry and skedaddle all over the hallways and stuff and like make elephant noises on the floors for folks below. It's really focused for folks who want to study in their residential space, are tending to be a little bit more quieter, a little bit possibly even more reserved in their community spaces. If that doesn't sound like you, if you're like, no, no, I love to rock out, or when I socialize with friends, I want everyone to hear our conversation, or I want everyone to be a part of our conversation, or I love to run and skedaddle throughout the floors, and that's just like my favorite thing. This might not be the floor for you, but if you're interested in turning the page and seeing what that would be like, you're welcome to apply and select, excuse me, to live at the quiet floor. Top floor of certain buildings to ensure there's no noisy upstairs neighbors. There's one floor in the first year building per college and one floor in the continued building per college. For some folks, that's not a cup of tea. If something is too quiet for me, as an example, I can't handle it. I need a little bit of noise. I need a little bit. Okay, other theme floors at both colleges. I mentioned LGBTQIA plus housing. So you must be part of the community or an ally. You must indicate on your housing application, strongly prefer on your application. You must accept the offer for the LGBTQIA plus Q plus floor. There is one at College 9 and one on John R. Lewis College. Okay, here's this famous question again. Are College 9 and John R. Lewis College in the same residential community? No. While the apartments share the same location, the College 9 and John R. Lewis College res halls are different communities. If you apply to College 9 and your friend applies to John R. Lewis, you will not be able to form a roommate group. All right, here's another FAQ about the supplemental applications. Question being, why is it not appearing on my application? So definitely, one, you must indicate that prefer or strongly prefer for a theme community for that supplemental application to pop up. Again, applying to Roomies Field, the International Living Center, and the ABC community, that will pop up and that will allow you into those spaces to be considered, for those spaces. For community-specific applications, you must apply to that community. So you must show, I'm interested in the ILC, I'm interested at College 9, or I want to be in the LGBTQI community at John R. Lewis College. And then same thing, if I want to be in Roomies Field, I need to apply to John R. Lewis College to see the Roomies Field nonviolent communication floor pop up on there. So you do have to make sure that those show as prefer and strongly prefer, or else it will not pop up for you. Okay, I want to live at the ILC, International Living Center. Do I have to apply to College 9? No. You should apply to where you want to live. If you do not get into a supplemental theme community, a supplemental application communicates, I would like to live at the ILC. If I do not get into the ILC, I would like to live at the Village. So making sure that you fill out those applications, the supplemental applications, in a way that communicates the reason why you want to live in that community, and the purpose of it, that you've read and understand what the purpose of it is. We have had some very interesting ChatGPT supplemental application submissions, and the reason I can tell that they were interesting AI supplemental applications is because a lot of the sentences were just repetition of each other. So if you want to, you are welcome to use ChatGPT, AI, what have you, but please make sure you edit it, that it makes sense and it answers the question of why you want to live there. And then it's not just restating what the ILC is. And that we had a lot of that last year. So just being aware, no matter which supplemental application you have, please edit, please read it before you submit it, so that, again, your chances are higher. More spaces that you can live gives you a higher chance of having different opportunities. So yeah, just make sure you're editing that. Oops, there we go. Okay. And then I want to live and participate in Rumi's Field. Do I have to apply to John R. Lewis? So again, yes, because it's in the res halls as a themed community, that you would need to make sure that you fill that out for John R. Lewis College in your housing application. I'm going to give you a few seconds while I drink some water really quick. If you have questions still, please scan this QR code. We will be answering questions over the next few business days. We've already had an abundance of questions submitted, and our housing coordinator team, team is answering those, and we'll start to get those out to folks on Tuesday, as Monday is a holiday. Let me give a few seconds. Wonderful. Okay. Let's see here. I want to participate in the community and live in the ILC or Rumi's Field. Do I have to apply to John R. Lewis College? Now, as we said, the apartments are for everyone. Res halls are just for the space that you apply to. So yes, as Rumi Field is only for John R. Lewis College, you must apply to John R. Lewis College. This communicates I'm interested in both ILC and Rumi's Field. If I do not get into ILC or Rumi's Field, I would like to live at John R. Lewis College. So that's that other piece of making sure you select the college that you want to live at when it comes to res halls. Do my preferences regarding themed communities increase or decrease my chances of getting housing? So for sure, be honest with yourself if you want a themed community. If you're like, I don't want to talk about nonviolent communication. I don't know. I don't care. I'm interested. Please don't be interested in violence. Nonviolent communication. I don't want to fill out a supplemental application. I don't want to do that. That is totally fine. You don't need to. You don't have to. If that's not a community you want to live at. If you don't prefer a themed community, it's not going to decrease your chances of getting housing. It's just one less community that you would have the opportunity of living at. So it's just apples and oranges, honestly. If you are interested in a themed community, saying you prefer it does not decrease your chances of getting housing at another community. It really just opens, again, more options for you. If you prefer to be on an LGBTQ floor, housing coordinators will look at your application first for an opening on the LGBTQ floors before they review someone else who has no preference, right? So if you say I'm strongly prefer, we're going to look at those applications first for where you prefer spaces. We want to give you your preferred housing interest, as opposed to someone who's like, I have no preference, I really don't care. They might not be as excited as someone who says, I strongly prefer this place, and we are able to assign them to that space if there's enough housing available in that, let's say the triple, that there's enough spaces in that triple, great, we'll put you in there because that's what you're interested in. All right, lifestyles and roommates. What makes a good housing application? So I'll just say right here, underline, underscore. Some of you may have had different experiences with this. Family members filling out your applications for you, folks suggesting maybe, I think there was a suggestion of a potential roommate filling out somebody else's application with the same living preferences when they really weren't. Someone was like a morning person waking up at 7 a.m. and working out, and the person like slept until noon. That might not be the most fun situation. So make sure when you fill out your housing application, you're filling it out for yourself, that it is true to where you want to live and how you live. Honesty, honesty, honesty. If in housing application you're asked about how you live and avoid the option no strong preference when any other option is a better fit. Please fill out your lifestyle question either by yourself or with someone who is going to be real with you and talk about how you live. If you know you are averagely messy and tend to go to bed after 2 a.m., stating that you have no strong preference regarding cleanliness or bedtime informs the housing coordinator, who does all the schematics and the stuff in the background, that you may live well with someone who tends to go to bed before 2 a.m., regardless of their cleanliness levels. As a result, you may be matched with a roommate that goes to bed at 10 p.m. who has a strong cleaning routine that does not mesh well with your cleaning style. So just be honest. If you're like, quote unquote, I'm a neat freak, or I'm a maximalist, or whatever it is, be honest with yourself, because this is a snapshot. Your housing application is a snapshot that the housing coordinator gets to see. So let's say you're in an apartment, one of your roommates graduates early. So now there's an empty space. Housing coordinator is going to go to the wait list to fill that empty space. The database looks at all of your preferences, your living preferences, to get the best match. If you have not filled that out honestly, you are going to get a match, but you may not like it. So please, please, please fill out your housing living preferences with as much honesty as possible. The housing coordinators do not judge how you live your life. Their job is to find you a room or an apartment where you will be happy and have an amicable living space with people with similar lifestyles. Also, being flexible. While there is limited availability of housing at UCSC and certain room types are in high demand, such as singles, like I said at the very beginning, the majority of spaces we have are triples. We're going to have less and less doubles and less singles. It's just the fact of the matter. There are also less in demand spaces that have very limited ability. So you do need to make sure that whatever you're interested in, you also know, well, I only want a single, that's it. There are less single rooms out there that we can put you in, and probably a lot of folks are interested in singles. So just know, having a variety, a mix and match of spaces you want to live in, great. But don't say I'm going to live in a triple and you really would just curl up into a ball and just, I don't know, want to again go into another dimension. You can't handle it. Make sure you only put the spaces that you do want to live in. If it is something that you're like, it doesn't matter, I just want on-campus housing because I don't want to ride the bus every day to commute onto campus, great. Put all of the options that you're interested in. All right, flexibility, extremely limited room types. So res hall double, very limited. We only have two. So if there's 19 double groups, only two of those folks are gonna, or technically four, I guess, two of those groups are gonna be able to find a double. There's one apartment quad and one apartment double. So those are gonna be limited spaces. So the more people who are interested in those spaces, that's just where it gets to be, okay, I know that I have to have this backup plan. What if somebody else selects this before me? Well, I need to see that me and my roommate are going to live in another space. So this backup plan is very, very important. Housing coordinators try to assist first and second preferences. That's why I said that strongly prefer, and prefer is really helpful for housing coordinators. If the student has one preference and there is no more of that room type available, everyone else who asks for more room types will be assigned first. So that goes back to the single. I only want a single. So I know that there's a triple available. Everyone else who wants triples, I'm funneling them in, and we're just waiting for the single to open up for you. So if you had said, I want a single and a triple, you would be in that group for us to just funnel folks into triples and assign folks to triple rooms. Okay. And we just kind of said that wouldn't mind that. Perfect. All right, and talked a little bit about Disability Resource Center. If you have a medical need for a certain kind of room, please now, as soon as possible now, work with the Disability Resource Center to get housing accommodation. The sooner you get that done, the better, because it does come back to that pre-assignment period. If you don't get that paperwork in and don't get that DRC accommodation approved by the pre-assignment period, you're going to be in a little bit more of a waiting game. So the sooner you can get all that stuff figured out, the sooner we can let you know, hey, we got you in this spot. We're always going to try and get as many of our folks with DRC accommodations into the spaces that we need. But that is a timeline of you got your paperwork in, DRC approved it and sent us that information. We cannot approve and assign you to a DRC accommodation space if we don't have that paperwork. Because basically we're not mind readers. And also due to HIPAA, we don't have that information as far as the housing coordinators are concerned. We have to get that approval information from DRC. We can't make it up on our own. Okay. Application process, all of the fun times. Okay, so pre-assignment is what I just mentioned. This is happening right here. Campus-wide themes, RAs, NAs, the DRC accommodations that I just mentioned. This is happening in March. Next month this is happening. Oh my gosh, it's happening. Okay, March 9th through 31st. So it happens before the main room selection, and housing staff are the ones that assign the ones that assign the spaces. Student accepted to a campus-wide theme like our ABC housing community, international living community, etc. That they will be able to be in there, and then as well as folks with DRC. So RAs, NAs, campus-wide themes, and DRC accommodations approved. Let me make that really clear. Approved DRC accommodations. Okay. If you have a disability-related housing need, submit your paperwork in addition to applying for housing. So don't just submit your paperwork and be like, okay, I'm done, and not meet that February deadline of the 26th at 11:59 p.m. Want to make sure you do both of those things. Accommodations that qualify, approved accommodations, pre-assignment would be housing without steps or stairs, specific room type, visual alarms. Accommodations for an ESA, emotional support animal, like I said, are not in that category. Only students with accommodations for specific types of housing will be assigned. And that means that you might have a roommate group, but your roommates don't have that accommodation. So you will be assigned, but they won't. If you would prefer to be assigned with those roommates, then you're going to have to deny your pre-assignment, your housing pre-assignment for your DRC accommodation. If you do that, there's not going to be a guarantee that the space that you would have gotten in pre-assignment is still going to be available. So that is something that you're going to have to think about if you have a DRC accommodation, because once we've assigned that to someone else with accommodation, that will clearly, it won't be available anymore because someone else with a DRC accommodation is there, okay? So just thinking about that, we have 2 rooms that don't have carpet at 9 and Lewis. If your friends want to live at 9 and Lewis, we're going to assign you. You have an approved DRC accommodation for a space with no carpet. Your friends want to live there at College 9, let's say, but you're like, I'd rather live in the apartment with them than by myself in this space. Well, then you're going to make that option. But I will tell you, our apartments do have carpet. So that accommodation need that you have, we can't guarantee that in the space that you all want to live or the space that will become available. So definitely think about that. That's part of that having a backup plan piece, talking about that with folks to your comfort level and being able to, and being able to discuss that openly with folks of like, okay, here's what I need, here's what I'm going to do. Let's work together to see how can we live close enough together, or are we just going to go ahead and choose that I'm going to live with you guys and I'm not going to take this DRC accommodation. So that's all based on your interest and your preference. If you're pre-assigned to theme housing, or due to a disability accommodation, your roommate group cannot be assigned with you. You need to decide before April if you would proceed with room selection with your group. Okay, so March pre-assignments, you have pretty much until March 31st until you're like, you know what, no, I really want to live with my roommates, or you know what, I'm assigned, it needs my accommodation. I have my assignment. I'll let my roommates know this is where I'm at. During selection, maybe they can get as close to me as possible. Okay, some spaces of pre-assignment. So the spaces that are not, not available, the campus-wide themes, ABC housing, ILC, trans-inclusive housing, those are pre-assigned. Those are also where we talk about the supplemental applications. And so making sure, once again, if you submit that supplemental application, you're gonna know about pre-assignment in March because we'll be able to put folks there. And to talk about spaces without carpet, flashing doorbells, wheelchair.
Siobhan, sorry to interrupt. Just want to do a time check that we're at 3:03.
Perfect. Okay, let me double check here where we're at. Okay, I'm gonna go real fast. Thank you so much, Gabby. Okay, so we did talk about this meeting the need, DRC, and the residential assistance and the RAs and NAs. Do pre-assigned spaces take away from other students who also need housing? No, as I said at the very beginning, there's a certain amount, there's a certain number of spaces that we already have put into count. These are going to be our pre-assigned, spaces. So RA rooms are not counted in that total. I think I said there was like 300 some odd spaces or 500 some odd spaces, those aren't counted in there. Okay. If I have a DRC accommodation with preferred roommates be assigned with me during pre-assignment, as I said, no, they're not going to be, and you have until April to make that decision if you want to live with them. Okay. If I have a DRC accommodation, how can I live with my oh gosh, y'all, so sorry, preferred roommates? So if you are assigned, you have until pretty much March 31st to make that decision. If you want to live with your roommates, that you need to know you might not have that space anymore, that you'll be able to live in the accommodation space if you choose to live with your roommates. All right, here's the big thing, room selection. So who's eligible? Folks who continuously live in university housing during winter 26 to spring 2026 quarters. Reapply for fall 2026 university housing during this period, the 19th through the 26th. You have to do that. You have to get that done before that 11:59 p.m. Timeline. All right, prerequisites for forming a group. All group members must have applied before that deadline and to the same college, like we said. They have to be eligible for room selection, and they need to be included right here. It says, yes, include me in roommate searches results. So this is a really big thing too on your application. Okay, so make sure you click that box. All right, roommate request icon right here in your student housing profile. You're going to select the option to create a group, and you're going to be able to search for folks based on their UCSC email. When you join a group, you are authorizing the group leader to potentially select housing for you and accept their decision as final. So it is very important over these next few days with those roommate meet and greet events, you talk to whoever your group leader is and build either one, that communication up, that trust up, that plan, those backup plans. Okay. One of the suggestions, and you're going to be able to talk more about this at those meet and greets, is these backup plans. So let's say 4 to 6 people in our group are Rising John R. Lewis College affiliates. 3 of us are Rising sophomores. So 4 of us will get room selection times. 3 opportunities to get the earliest room selection times. So this whole piece is part of your planning. We're going to get 4 room selection times. This is going to be great. And because we have folks who are affiliated and Rising sophomores, we're going to have really better selection times. All right, room selection, April 7th. How are things decided? Current first-year students, Rising sophomores, who entered UCSC in fall 2025 or winter 26 will receive earlier start times. This is a new thing for this year. All other continuing students receive start times after that block of first-year students. All start times are randomly generated. I can't tell you until you get the email. I won't know. None of us will know until you get the email of when your start time is. Okay. Room selection is on a first come, first serve basis. So if you are not an early riser and you have a 9 a.m. time, set as many alarms as you possibly can, okay? So you want to get onto the system at 9 a.m. to be able to get in and start selecting. Availability of those spaces is based on the time when you log in. Fewer options as other students complete their selections happen throughout the day. A space may not, you might not see the space that you were initially interested in available by your start time. And that's where those backup plans come in. You can pivot quickly and choose another option. You can only select spaces that fit your group. So for groups, housing that exactly matches the size and gender makeup of your roommate group. For example, a 6-person apartment for you and 5 other housemates. You can't be just you and a friend trying to live in a 6-person apartment. You need at least 4 other people to live in a 6-person apartment, okay? For individuals, you'll be able to go into single residence hall rooms. Even though there are single rooms in our apartments are 6 people. So you have to have 5 other folks that want to live in an apartment together so that you can get that single apartment, okay? You have to have a group that fills the entirety of that space. So that's why a single residence hall and a single person, that works because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Room selection pieces for logging in, what it's going to look like. It will show you everything that you can see with your set roommate group. So if there's 6 of us, I'm going to be able to see everything that can hold 6 people. I'm not going to see a triple because that's 3 people and I've got 6. If we decide, oh, there's no more 6-person apartments, we're going to have to split up into 2 threes. Okay, we're going to get out of here. We're going to split up. You 3 go there, us 3 go here. Now, when I go back in, I'm going to be able to see triples. Okay, so again, that's what it means is you have to have a full roommate group to see the spaces that you can live in based on the number of folks you have in that roommate group. Okay, place a hold on an available space that you would like to select. Spaces are held for 5 minutes. Just like when you buy like tickets, concert tickets, whatever, there's usually that running time on the top. Sometimes it's 12 minutes, which is great. But most of the time it's probably only 5 or so minutes. So make sure, again, you have your plan ready to go. You can make those decisions. All right, you're assigning yourself, and this is that leader, that team lead, being able to assign everyone. So you also want to say, we are in a 6-person apartment. There's 2 singles and 2 doubles. I'm going to live with so-and-so in a double. They're going to live in a single over there. They're going to live in a single over there, and those 2 are going to live in a double over there. Great, we have it all ready to go. Your team lead is able to put everything in here, and you're done. Okay, assigning your group leader. If you have a gender snafu, during selection, please contact your housing coordinator, okay? There could be someone, maybe they've still listed an N as their gender marker, and maybe somebody else listed an F as their gender marker. The system, the database is gonna see those as different genders in a single gender space, and it's gonna be like, wait a second, I can't do this. You're gonna contact your housing coordinator, and they're gonna help you through that, okay? Alrighty, so once you've gotten all there, you have to confirm and assign. I will tell you, I have been in spaces where folks are like, I don't see anything, nothing's showing up. They didn't get to this part. They were so excited, they filled everything else out, and they didn't keep clicking forward, confirm and assign. So make sure you go through diligently each page, confirm and assign at the end, and then that will assign you to your spaces. I wish I had like, confetti image or something like that right here, but you got it. Okay, important reminders. Designate the person in your group with the earliest time as your group leader. Start times are emailed on April 2nd. So that's another date to put in your Google Calendar or whatever on your phone. April 2nd, look at your emails. Plan together. Take this time now, those roommate meet and greets. Discuss what room types each person is willing to accept and who will share a room with whom. Have backup plans. I've said this so many times and it's been in the little yellow at the bottom. It is so important. You have a backup plan ready. Everyone understands it because 5 minutes during room selection, it goes by in like 2 seconds. So have that backup plan ready so that when something changes or, you don't see the room type that you guys were interested in, you can just move, again, pivot quickly and go forward to select what you want. Forming a roommate group does not guarantee there will be a space available for your group size and gender makeup, okay? Because if you have a 2 p.m. time, what you may have wanted, what may have been available at that 9 a.m. time is now going to look different. All right, I have a 12:15 p.m. slot. We are affiliates of John R. Lewis College and we don't get a room selection time. 3:45 p.m. Well, I have an 8:30 a.m. time and a spaceship. I'll take the lead. My time is at 10. Is that good? Obviously, if someone has an 8:30, yes, please work with that person. Definitely affiliates who are applying to the college, rising sophomores, get those folks in your group because they're going to have the best times. Okay. Oh, sorry about this little. Maybe I can move it a little bit. No, I can't. It's going to disappear. Okay. Gender affects room assignments by what you put in your My UCSC portal. Okay, I want to say that again. Gender is controlled, decided by what you input, what data you provide in your My UCSC portal. So that F and the N and the M, it's how you identify and what you put into that space. Okay, so female is considered cis female, trans female, cis woman, trans woman. Male M is considered cis male, trans male, cis man, trans man. That's how the computer and the database reads that. Same thing with non-binary and unspecified. Those are going to be the different letters, and that data is what the system is going to read when you get a roommate group together, okay? And this changes every 24 hours. So if you realize that maybe you didn't fill out your gender, and so it was already on the you, and you realize like, oh, I'm not seeing my roommates on there. If you go back in and change your gender so that it matches what your roommates are seeing on theirs, then the system will let you go. But if you're like, no, I am unspecified, I'm non-binary, I don't identify as F or M, then all you need to do is you and your group are going to talk to the housing coordinator during that 5-minute period. It's on hold. The housing coordinator will help you through to be able to select the room. So we have that backup for these specific cases. So not to worry at all. We're there to support you through that. Okay, going into your MyUCSC account, it changes every 24 hours. During room selection, if you have a hold and are having difficulty, make sure you reach out to your housing coordinator, and you're going to have more information. It's going to be housing.ucsc.edu/gender. Okay, again, timeline, really big part. If for any reason you don't get a space during that room selection timeline, we still have all of May, June, July, August, and September. Okay, folks find spaces off campus. Folks get decide that they're going to actually study abroad, and they're actually not going to live here in the fall of 2026. So spaces open up, right? There's so many things. Sometimes folks transfer. Sometimes folks realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to graduate early. I just have to take this summer course. All that stuff, and you'll see July and August, that happens. Okay, housing wait list. Well, some students select housing during room selection. Many are assigned by housing coordinators. If you are on the wait list, this is very important. So if you're like falling asleep right now, if you wake up, this is very important, okay? After room selection, any student who has not been assigned to housing will be prompted to re-verify their application for staying on the wait list. If you do not re-verify, you will be pulled off the wait list, and you won't be eligible for well, you'll be eligible, you have to reapply. So if you're like, no, I still want housing, look in your email and re-verify that you are still interested in housing. You will remain on the wait list. For everybody else who's like, I'm not interested anymore, then they're going to be taken off the wait list, and that's totally fine. But if you are still interested in housing while you're on the wait list, you must re-verify. That happens about once a month throughout the summer, spring and summer, and into fall. Okay, so very important on there. Review, we talked a lot about stuff. We talked about if the system is over here, this is the system is Star Res. That's the system. If there's too many people on February 26th at 11:59 p.m., Star Res is going to think they're cyber criminals, and then it's going to shut down everything. So do not wait to fill out your application. Submit your application by the last date, by the last moment. Okay, try and do something closer to the 19th. Try and even get closer to maybe 9 a.m. on the 25th. Okay, make sure that you use your time wisely. Alrighty. Adding, oh, so sorry, folks. I'm just going to move this so we can see this. There we go. Okay. Why can't I add my preferred roommate? So one, are you eligible for room selection? Did you apply to the same residential community? That's the big one. Remember, if you're all going to be at College 9, you all have to select College 9, okay? Did you mark yourself as visible, that little box that I mentioned, visible as roommate matching? That's important. If you didn't select it, I can't see you, okay? This is, yes, include me in the roommate search results, okay? That's what that piece is. So you have to select that. All right, last little piece. Are College 9 and John R. Lewis College the same residential community? No. While the apartments share the same location, the res halls at College 9 and the res halls at John R. Lewis College are in fact different. If you apply to College 9 and your preferred roommate applies to John R. Lewis, you will not be able to see each other. Okay, here's another place for a screenshot. Info sessions, we're doing that right now. Sorry, one sec. Meet a roommate events have already started. They go until the 17th. Application period also starts next week. Oh my gosh. Pre-assignment, March 9th through 31st. RAs, DRC, theme housing pre-assignment. Remember I talked about the DRC. If you are interested in staying in your DRC accommodation or you want to live with your roommates, that's when you have to make that decision before April 7th, okay? I'm also noticing on here, my apologies, we didn't put the April 2nd date on here is when you're going to get your time for room selection. Okay, here we go. Scan this QR code if you have questions. I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to open it up to questions for folks. Thank you all for sticking with me